Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I want to talk about what I believe is the current state of the astrological community. Now, first off, on a positive note, the one good thing about the astrological community is that I believe there's likely more of us in it that give credence to it, whether it's astrological enthusiasts, astrology fanatics, fans, astrologers, astro bloggers, people that are avid learners and readers, YouTube astrologers. Thing about it, as I spoke about in a previous video, there was some report on MotherJones.com that said that based on some data in 2012, that there was 55% of Americans did not think astrology was at all scientific, was not scientific at all. On positive end, what that means is that at least 45% then believe it is at least somewhat scientific. So that is one positive in that, and we do have more believers, I believe, now than ever before, very likely, and that is one good aspect of it. But I want to talk about some other things. As far as astrological community, I understand we have a lot of different forums and we got all kinds of internet outlets, YouTube astrologers. We have people that write books on it, that are bloggers. We have ebooks on it now. There's such a strong proliferation, really, in terms of in terms of the astrological material out there where you can actually learn from. This is something, but there are some other things, sadly, that are negative that are connected with the current state of our astrological community. And some of it is just a lot of it is just negativity in terms of remarks. What I think is sad is like in my case, I've noticed I understand, I have the comments disabled on my account, so I understand, some people, it might bother some people to some degree, and they can't really reach out to me. They can write me through Facebook or whatever. But another thing is that I want to touch up on too, as far as this goes. I'll have people that will write me. The only time sometimes they'll contact me is when they want information on something astrologically. It's not about, like your work, Edwin, how are you? The thing about it is the astrological community, sadly, there's a lot of people that are about self-aggrandizement, and they're about basically they're really very, very self-absorbed and much into themselves, and I think that's why you have a lot of people that the only time they'll contact somebody that's connected with astrology is when they want something, or it's something connected with self-interest, sadly. Now, at the same time, I don't mind helping people out from time to time, periodically. Sometimes I'll voluntarily give some insider information, maybe pertaining to someone's chart or what have you, or some astrological question they have. Thing too, and I'll get people, like somebody tweeted me one time and asked me if I was whispering in a video, or really, do some people need like a bionic ear? I don't know if anybody ever saw that commercial for Lee Majors, who played, of course, the Bionic Man. He advertised some kind of bionic hearing aid, so I guess maybe this was some revolutionary hearing aid or something. But, the thing about it is, what it is too is it's not just about, self-aggrandizement and being self-absorbed. There's also, I see a lot of apathy in the astrological community as well. As many of you may know, there was a rather, I would say, a derogatory and negative video that had been put up recently, and it was saying something, but it had a number of astrologers that were shown, and it was very derisive toward them, and that they're supposed to be investigated and this and that. And the thing about that is, and what I thought was interesting when I looked at that video, I noticed when I looked at the comments on it, there was hardly any comments that were such where they were standing up for any of those astrologers in that video that I see as really were being basically vilified. That's what really perturbed me, and I was also bewildered by. It was astonishing. I mean, you have all those astrologers in that video that were pictured, that were shown in a negative light, and had very little support in them through the comments. Now, I'm not saying they weren't, maybe people didn't stick up for them, maybe on forums or some other pages somewhere on the internet, but they were not anything on that comment section of the video. There was all kinds of support for the person that made the video, though. And I also noticed too the likes on that video, in contrast to the dislikes, were so disproportionate it's not even funny. I mean, at the time when I looked at it, there were like maybe just 23 dislikes on the video. I believe there were over 100 likes. So what does that really tell you? The video had been up for nearly a month, so you didn't even maybe have one dislike per day on it. People, they could show their disdain for when a video like that comes up. And the thing about it too is, why didn't I kind of felt like I stuck my own way for the astrologers, including myself, through the video response I made to it. But what I couldn't understand is that when I looked at it, there was only one. I saw one comment on there that supported those astrologers in that video. And there was just one. Now, it's possible there may have been others on there that were deleted, but I did not see any on there. There was one comment that I saw that supported them. I laud that person for that tremendously. The thing about it is, the support system, that shows me right there. I'm using that video to illustrate the fact that perhaps that epitomizes where we are in that respect in the astrological community in terms of the support system, and that people can be very apathetic. I tell people a lot, it's not very profound. I think some people will concur, others may not agree. The antithesis of love is not necessarily hate. It could actually be apathy. Because when you hate on somebody, of course, you're expending a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, putting forth that energy to hate on a person. But you're apathetic. It's like you just don't care. You're indifferent. And the thing about it is, we have to there's an expression called united we stand, divided we fall, right? The thing about it is, it's just really about being more, I think, supportive of one another in the community, and it does, we can't, astrology, this is supposed to be about how we can help each other. It's supposed to be about love and light, not about malice, hatred, using astrology for nefarious purposes to cause dissension and discord. But at the same time, there are a lot of positive things in the community. You do have a lot of astrologers out there that are using it for noble purposes in contrast to ignoble purposes. And there's people out there that are constantly spreading the word, and that they are they're making great contributions to the astrological world, the community, and they are enhancing and augmenting people's knowledge of it in the process. As I stated before, whether it's through books, whether it's through ebooks, online blogs, YouTube astrology, other astrology videos, perhaps on other sites. It even could be from books of yesteryear, written by renowned authors. There was some book, and I'm not remembering the exact title, something like How to Chart Your Own Horoscope. And in that book, very nostalgic. It was one of my first astrology books I ever had, and I was enamored with it. And you have, just so you know, we can go to books in the past and still enjoy them and still actually learn something from them. In that book, you had they were showing there was a circle in it, and it was showing all of circle of the zodiac signs, and it was actually showing positive and negative degrees for all those 360 degrees of the zodiac signs. And it was something I vaguely remembered when I had that book. It rang a bell when I saw it, but I had forgotten about it. But the thing about it is that people, those people are still in the community. I believe the author was, you might want to check this to make sure. I think it was Ursula Lewis that wrote that book. She has passed away, sadly, but she's still there in the community in our hearts, and that's something to look at. And people like that, I mean, their works, will live on forever. Even though the people might be deceased and they've passed away, sadly, a number of these authors, their works are still there, and there's still something that we can, those books that they wrote, we could still assimilate knowledge from them and still become very learned in astrology, and perhaps learn about things that we didn't know in connection with astrology. But I want to say is, overall, in summation, the astrological community is still, it still has a lot more positive than it has negative in it. I mean, sadly, you're going to have, wherever you go in life, you're going to have, the bad apples here and there. But I think what I want to get at, the thing that really irked me was the fact that, as I talked about that video before, is that it really shows me the lack of, really a strong lack of support. And the thing about it too is, I'm not one to, be crying and saying, well, why didn't this person do this? Why, I'm not looking for, or I'm not looking for, for awards or accolades or notoriety, recognition. But at the same time, it was interesting after I made that video, which I felt like I was basically standing up for the, for the astrologers in that group, that I did not get one right. There was no response to that toward me. I know I have the comments disabled on the videos, but what I don't understand is that I didn't, not one person wrote and said, hey, Edwin, thanks or whatever. But that's, again, if I was really looking for that, that would defeat the whole purpose of doing the videos, right? But at the same time, one would like, some acknowledgement. And the thing about it is, and it just, there's really not much else I have to say on this matter as far as our astrological community goes. And again, as I talked about before, we have 55, according to the MotherJones.com report, we had like 55% 2012 of the Americans stating that astrology was not at all scientific, which on the positive end, 45% would think it's at least somewhat scientific or perhaps somewhat plausible. So those are some really good things as far as that goes. And really, there's not a whole lot, I'd like to say about it. But the only other thing about the astrological community I want to talk about, I think, sadly, it's very, like all walks of life, it can be very cliquish. You might have your very, your renowned, prolific astrologers. They're all in their own kind of group, and it's somewhat clannish, I think, in the situation in the astrological community. And the thing is, and I'm not saying, I'm not trying to stereotype and saying all those astrologers are necessarily arrogant or anything, but I think what it is when, we become complacent. A lot of times in all walks of life, we get self-satisfied in our groups. And I have to admit, like for me, I can, as I stated before, not to be overly redundant with this, but I have disabled, my comments are disabled. I could do more to ingratiate myself in the astrological community. I know I can, but I just don't. And I'm not trying, I'm saying this to understand that there's not like complete. I'm not saying I'm infallible or beyond. I mean, I'm not flawless. I know that I could probably do a better job in doing that, but I think a lot of the astrologers can do so as well. And the thing about it is we just have like that. I think a lot of us just have that certain group, those certain people that we connect with, and we just basically become collectively self-satisfied with that. So what happens is we become oblivious to those other people that are out there. We focus mainly, and I think too, a lot of it just attributed to just society in general, not just the astrology community, but life, people in general. We become very self-contained, we become very self-absorbed, we become very engrossed in our own activities, our own lives, our own interests. So what it is I think like in that example I told you about in the video I did in response to that other video that I didn't, that I thought was really, very negative toward the other astrologers. I didn't think that was right at all. And the thing about it is some people might not have seen it. So they couldn't really reach out to me because they still might not have seen it to this day. The thing about it is we have to understand that. I have when I look at things like that, if I do a video like that, it's because really the purpose is because I want to do it. I make the videos, day to day because I like to do it. I mean, you need viewership, of course, because otherwise if you don't have certain viewership, you can't really justify or rationalize doing them, right? So anyway, there's really not much more I'd like to say. I really want to say on it, but I also would like to say in the video that as far as the astrological community goes, I mean, I think YouTube has given people tremendous opportunity to share their knowledge, profuse astrological knowledge with others, and it helps expand the astrological community and the people. And remember, it's not just about the astrologers out there, it's about the fans, the enthusiasts, the people that may not be astrologers but have an abundance and certified of knowledge of astrology that just makes this so much that really spreads the word around, and it gets other people motivated as far as actually learning it and understanding how it can figure very prominently in our lives, and then giving it more credence and credibility. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my thoughts on the current state of the astrological community. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be continuing my monthly horoscope series. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.